This time on Low Boost, we're putting a power steering cooler on our E36 Turbo LS swap and get the thing to quit whining. I love the sound of the LS, and even more so, I love the sound of a turbo LS. But one thing I absolutely hate with this car is after the thing gets warm, it whines, because at the end of the day, it's still a Chevy and it still has that annoying power steering pump, and it just goes. What I'm gonna do today is I'm actually going to add a power steering cooler in line on my power steering return setup. That way it actually keeps it cool and really kind of gets rid of that whine completely. Now, before I even start, yes, I know you guys are already thinking the question, why don't you try putting a different power steering fluid in it? And I have. I usually run Redline power steering fluid in this, just like I do on my C5 Corvette track car. It is the best power steering fluid you can get. However, after a while, me driving it around, it still whines. So we have to do something else. Let's check it out. So this is not my first time doing a power steering cooler. I did one on my C5 Corvette because when I'm at the track, the power steering fluid just gets really hot and started to boil over. So I upgraded the power steering cooler on that. This has some other problems that are not related to how fast I'm driving. If I'll show you here, the turbo hot side runs really close to my power steering pump, and I think it's just heating it all up, and I could put some tape over this to try to get it to improved, but really you need a power steering cooler. So I got the power steering cooler mounted right here. I have it all plumbed up here. This one I got on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. This has AN fittings, and I really didn't want to run AN fittings because the rest of it doesn't have it. So these are 6 AN to 3/8 barb that I put on, and I use hose clamps on it, and that threads on just fine. And in the problem areas that I have where there's a lot of heat, I got some DEI hose wrap that, as if anything is close to it, I can wrap it up that way. Put a link to these in the description below. They are good to like 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you have lines that you don't want to melt, heat, or catch fire, especially like fuel lines, I also run them in the back of my fuel line that goes down the engine. They're an absolute must when you're building a car that you're gonna be dealing with a lot of heat in the engine bay and you don't wanna melt stuff. So I'll put a link to these DEI wraps in the description below. Check them out. And if I have to, I will tape this up, but I would rather not because I don't think it looks great. But this hose wrap should actually work pretty well. And there will constantly be fresher, cooler fluid running through this because now I have it pumping through. So what you normally do is, instead of you having your return from your low pressure return going right back into the reservoir, I actually have it running into the cooler, passing through in the wind and coming back. The car doesn't make a whining sound when I first start it. It makes a whining sound when it's been driving for a while and I pull up somewhere and it's loud. So hopefully this alleviates it, and I'll finish hooking it up now and I'll let you know if it works. If you're into this kind of stuff, consider subscribing. I upload a video just about every week about cars, whether it's my E36 Turbo LS swap, my C5 Corvette track car, a bunch of other stuff that I have on the channel, uploaded every single week. So if you're into this kind of content, consider subscribing. Also, hit the like button. I know everybody says it, but it really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm and lets other people know that they should be watching this content as well. So thanks for hitting that like button. There it is, mounted up there underneath. Yeah, I might just put black tape over the gold just so it looks cleaner. But yeah, that's gonna work, I think. So, very nice. I ended up plumbing this as best as I could. I'm gonna have this tucked underneath here in this back, zip tied away from the hot side there. I have it running around and through here with my DEI wrap, and then into the power steering cooler, and then return goes back out here through my wrap, and I was able to snake one down by where the rack is. Now that's probably gonna be, or actually that's the feed and that's the return. That's probably gonna be the easiest way to do it, because if you have it down there, it doesn't go near the hot side as much. He's still gonna be near it here though. So, be near it right here. There's just no way around that. So, let's see how it goes. So there it is wrapped up. You really can't even tell in the front. Shit looks pretty good. All I did was I zip tied it down there, and up here. Kind of keeps it in place. There's a lot of free flowing behind it. Doesn't really impede the radiator all that much. It's all going through. I don't need a big power steering cooler. I'm not tracking the car, but that is perfect for just driving on the street. All in all, the install was really easy and it was a success because I drove the car around a lot the other night and it did not make a whining sound nearly as loud as the old one did. Still very, very faint, but nothing that I'm going to be annoyed with pulling into a parking lot that is overbearing on the sound of the engine itself, which it used to do. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It's a really cheap fix. I probably did it for 40 bucks. The power steering cooler itself is $25. Between some fittings and lines, I was able to get it through and was able to make it all work just fine. You probably don't need to do what I needed to do by getting DEI hose wrap, but I'll put a link to those in the description below. They really, really cut down on heat. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.